Hey guys, it's Hilary Mboro. Welcome to Project Maisha. We're shooting our first video, and we're actually very excited about this. And for mental health, we are talking about mental health, and for it, it's something that has been close to my heart, as I said it in our introduction. And for those who are suffering from mental health, they feel like they should live in denial, and for those who are watching it from outside there, they don't want to be involved with it. So I think it's about time we talked about it. I think in the past ilikuwa mental health, mtu akiwa na mental health issues ilikuwa nasema niko na stress, not knowing that mental health is something that is key to us, especially when it comes to working. And there's something I read, and it was like at times when you have mental health issues, at your best, you work so much. Then there are days you just don't want to go to work. But for guys, they just take it lightly. They just say you're having a slow day, ama you're lazy. And today I'm with my boy Aziz, and he's a mental health ambassador. He's done it on IG, on the socials, and I'm actually very excited to introduce him to this, and let's talk about this. Welcome, Aziz.
Thank you, Hila. As you said, my name is Aziz Mola. For some, they call me Eutychus, which is my first name, but I don't use it as often. I do a lot of things, but I'm here in my capacity and my passion for mental health advocacy and, yeah, just preaching about the importance of thinking about your mental health. I started this journey like almost I would say 6 years ago, and I started a platform called Men Talk Health Kenya. And so it was in the process of me learning more about my mental health and seeking resources and just trying to be more knowledgeable about what's going on. And I realized there's a very big gap because most people don't know about mental health issues. Like, the little that we know is so full of stigma from past experiences. So there is always a negative connotation when it comes to speaking about mental health. Because, like, even when just common conversation, most people don't get the difference between like mental health and what mental illness is, because those are two different things. Because mental health is general and it affects everyone. It doesn't matter whether you're having a good day, you're having a bad day. Mental health is for everyone. And of course, there are certain things about now mental illness which come about when you've seen a professional and you've been diagnosed. But I guess we'll talk about this as we go along with the podcast.
Yeah, and I think I've been following you on your socials, especially with the IG live. You guys, you really get into it, and it gets to that point whereby men become vulnerable to it, and you're like, me getting to know my feelings and getting in touch with my feelings and me able to talk it out is okay. And it's okay not to be okay at the end of the day. With the past, for a man, you had to bottle everything up, and for man, let me go with that side, because for men it's something else. And for when it comes to mental health, seeing a therapist, at least it's coming up and people are able to just go out there and see therapists. But therapists, at the end of the day, they're not that cheap. So you need a support system that would help you to cope with it and just being able to manage it. I think my first question would be, if I'm not able to see a therapist, what would be the best idea for me to just to cope, to help me cope with my mental health?
So I'd say, so it has to start from within. Like, it has to be you getting to a place to realize that whatever is going on in my life is not giving me fulfillment, is not making me happy, or it's getting me tired, So you have to get to that point and realize it's not like there's something wrong, but there's something going on.
Yeah.
So when you get to the point where you're trying to figure out what's going on, resources are out there. I do agree with you that mental health care, especially in Kenya, is not that reachable to all. Some of us, I would say, like for example, myself, I count myself as very privileged to be in a point where I have a cover that can be able to help me see a doctor if I'm feeling some type of way. So it's not that approachable to everyone, but I feel like a lot of work has been going on into getting people more aware about mental health issues and why mental health is important. So there are so many spaces. You can build a space. You can start with building a space within your community. Like community is not like the general term, like community in the sense of people that you hang out with, people that you confide in, people you talk to. And that is very important when you're starting to go into the journey. And other than that, then if you can afford to see a professional, then you can be able to see a psychiatrist. Psychiatrists are mainly doctors, so they're the guys who will diagnose you and let you know if you have an illness or anything. But then also there are counselors and therapists who you can see, and they can be able to just like process with you what's going on and be like, advise you if you need to see a doctor, or because all these things are about symptoms and cycles. Like you can be able to know like if it's not going well. And yeah, for those who can't afford the, obviously like there are platforms that offer like free mental health care services, maybe specific on specific days. I think like Kenyatta Hospital, there's something, I think on Thursdays or somewhere in the week, there's a day like there's a clinic for people who want to see medical, and there are also spaces online. Like I can't like name all of them off the top of my head, but I'll just say the resources are there. So if you're looking for information and you're looking for support and you're looking for professional help, if you're looking for it, you'll find it.
And let's just say, what are the basic symptoms for one to know that your friend is not okay or they're not doing good? Because for me, I felt like, as per myself, usually I would say I'm all over the place. I'm very energetic, like every other day. And for me, when maybe I'm going through something, I tend to become, I hide myself behind comedy. Like I would meet my friends, would laugh more than usual, you know. But for my friends, they would think maybe it's just me. He's just being himself. This is just hilarious. And for me, I think last year I mentioned sometime with my friends. Last year was a hard year for me, especially the 6 months to December. And I'm thankful for my friends, my parents. They were able to come through for me, and my HR, because I felt like when I went to work, I was not giving it my all. I felt like something was pulling me down. And as I said before, people would say I'm lazy, but I'm not being lazy. It's only that my mental space was not okay. And somebody mentioned that mental health is how you think, how you behave, you know. And I would say it really affected me in the sense that I just wanted to be myself. If I was eating, I would just take my food, go to the bedroom, and just be there by myself. But I'm thankful for the safe space my parents gave me, and my best friend, and my crew, I would say, my gang. So what would the basic symptoms one would look for if your friend is not okay? Just to know your friend is not okay.
So I wouldn't say it's as easy,
I know.
because as you said, like you could be that cheerful person in the group. So there's sort of an expectation for you to be that person. So it's so easy to hide when you. So it's not something that, but you can also be able to notice like patterns. Like you can notice patterns. So you talked about mental health is basically one's ability to deal with life, deal with stress. Kuna watu wenye they easily deal with stress. So there are people who like would be stressed and they would go for a run, or they will meet up with friends and talk about it and they will be okay. You know. So their mental health is like they're already like in a good space to be able. And there are people who've been affected by trauma and childhood experiences, which is complex in itself. It's like a very long conversation to have. But what I would say in general is you can notice how like changes in behavior. Like if someone doesn't drink and starts drinking more than usual, then you'd be able to be like, but you know, we live in a society where sometimes we champion that behavior in the sense of tunapendanga ule mse mwenye anaweza chapa bash. Like watu wanakuona like you never know what's going on with the person, but you're like umse leo ameamua. And so there's so many, it's like so intricate. It's like something that like I feel that's why so many people need to talk about it, because it affects each individual in very, very, very different ways, very extremely different ways. Some people will pick up habits like maybe start smoking, because it doesn't have to be negative all the time. Because you know, you can be like suffering from like mental health issues, or your mental health is not well, and all of a sudden you're the best performing person in the room, because you probably become a workaholic. So uko job watu wanafikiria umse ameamua. Like for example, I'll give you an example. Like, so myself, I got diagnosed with bipolar. So I live with bipolar disorder, and there is manic episodes, depressive episodes. When I'm manic, I am that guy. That guy at work, on point. Niko na energy for days. Yani ile yenye I can go to work, I can still meet up my friends, I can still go out, I still wake up in the morning and be like, and then it goes, but unfortunately it doesn't last forever. So at some point na crash. Na crash, na kuwa like sina nguvu, I don't want to go to work. So you see, like, I have to be in a point where I understand that cycle, because at the end of the day, that's my life. To understand that cycle and be able to try and get like a base level. So isikue kila najijudge by the highs.
Only the highs.
No, nikijudge by the highs when I'm depressed, I'll be like, I'm useless and I can't even do what I was doing last week. So your self-awareness, though, the point where having conversations and seeking professional help and gaining knowledge is inakuhelp ku understand vitu kaizo. Because if you can get and be like, so for example, me, I've been having this conversation when we na HR, like me, my supervisor understands like I'm living with this. And so they will know that some days I won't be 100%. And some days I'll be 200%. Some days I'll just be normal, like 100%. Ile tu unaingia kwa ofisi and you just want to do 1-2 and finish your day. So you just have to pick, like ask questions. Like you could start with basic things. Like ukipatana na mabeshto wako, like ask them, how are you feeling? How is your space? Like how is your space? Nini inakupea stress? Unaweza pata kitu inapea mse stress, like awaongeleshi na ni kitu ndogo. Okay, si ati to belittle it, but like ni kitu yenye, you know, like they say a problem shared is half solved. So like ni kitu yenye ukiambia mse be like, inaweza kapa na wewe hila na mimi niko na stress cause natafuta tao na uko na tao 5 kwa M-Pesa, kwa wallet, na sasa sijakwambia like na feel like shit, itao inatakikana, nimepigiwa like with my sis ako shule na sina itao ya kumtumia. But unajua nikishare useme boss hiyo si shida, naona hiyo shida imeenda.
For you ilikuwa something big. There's nothing, I wouldn't say hakuna kitu ndogo na kubwa. And I get you from that point you're saying, because I remember I was having one of those days like I was having a low day. One of my boys, let me just shout out to him. One of my boys, he's called Muholi. We worked with him. We were in campus together, worked with him for like 2 or 3 years. And just one day, he just video called me from nowhere. And he was like, hey, how you doing? These days, you're not that active as I have been used to seeing you. Then I told him what had happened. Nilifungwa tu roho ile like on video call. He lives in Nairobi. I'm in Nakuru. We talked. After I talked, he told me, you know what? I'm undergoing through the same issue you're having. We were able to relate on a personal level. And I'm so thankful we had that talk. Because I think if we had not had that talk, I would have bottled it up. And you know, you never know. And nowadays, you know, there are so many cases of suicide. It's not like kitambo hakukuwa na issues mental health. They were there. But of late they've been zimekuwa blown into proportion. I don't know whether venye kitambo they were not bringing up like the suicide issues. And pia on that, I would come to somebody just coming to social media and saying they are not okay. Then people are down there like criticizing him. Amaenda ulewe, you know, such kind of things. So I think it's something that should be incorporated in our workplaces. Like just have a safe space whereby you can approach like a counselor, you can approach someone. For me, I think I just approached my HR. They gave me a few days off. They actually reached out to they had my mom's number, they had my brother's number, so they knew where I was. If I was not reachable, they knew where they would get me. And for me, having that mental space at work helps. Because when we spend much of our time at work, and once you go to work and come back home and bring the same problem you had from work, you bring it home, it exaggerates and inafanya that mental space not to be okay. You know, now most of the time for me, especially for me, I work from Monday to Friday, and I don't go to town. Most of the time is work home. So unaona nikiwa on that schedule of work and home, and I'm not talking to anyone, especially for people who are living alone.
Yeah.
When you get back home,
najua hiyo. I understand.
That's when it hits you, like it hits you proper.
Yeah, you know? I have this issue where so when you're unaongea about home work schedule, yeah. Like for me is like I work and then I get home and I start feeling guilty because I'm not productive.
Yeah.
Unajua ile umefika home 6 then you're like sasa lazima nianze kufikiria what am I going to cook.
Yeah.
And then after that you cook and you sit and you're like hapa I should be doing something. Yeah. I should be doing something. And then you're like I don't even feel like doing anything. Na Blake, like kuna certain anxiety na come like when you're professional and you're so used to working even weekends. Yeah. Sometimes inabidi, that's why you find, I feel like that's why you find we distract ourselves a lot, like unatafuta form, unatafuta shughuli, because hauwezi katu hivi kwa hao. Like kwanza Kenya na venye Kenya ni just thinking about how am I going to make money.
Yeah. I think for guys, if you don't know about my friend Aziz, he's a man of many talents. Like many talents, photography. He's part of the Nax House production. He works with if I may say GDC. He's an actor, you know.
Yeah.
So wow. When it comes, hata alikuwa amesahau he's an actor. So when it comes for him, I think when it comes to those days when he's very productive, we've seen his work. It's top notch. So for him to say there are those days when he's feeling I'm not here. I'm not.
Siwezi fanya kitu.
Yeah. So I get you and where you are coming from. So I think for people who are not that outgoing, they would they would really, this mental health would really get to them, because you're not able to pinpoint what this person is undergoing. So
Yeah.
I think when it comes to mental health, we shouldn't be shy about it. We should be able to talk about it, and especially with COVID, when it hit, I think mental health cases were up there, because people were cramped up in the house.
People
You're not-
cramped
yeah,
up, people lost jobs.
There's no money.
There's no money. You can't, like, especially people like dependent on the night economy. You
Yeah.
can't work at night because of a curfew. But COVID was like, it was just something else.
Yeah. So I think with the mental health, it's something that it really requires time. I think we're not just going to do this episode. We'll have more guests coming. Aziz is always welcome again and again. And we are looking forward to this. And for people to reach you, where can they reach you on, especially on social media, where especially IG, that's where I've gotten you. I've listened to you and your friends talking about mental health. I think you can just mention on your socials and where people can get you and when you're talking about mental health.
So I don't think I'm as active as I want to be.
Yeah.
And it's the case and point of doing too many things and still trying to live with like bipolar disorder and struggling with, because I'm not perfect. Like, there's this thing where I struggled with this a lot when I started talking about mental health and things that I'm going through, that I expected myself to be perfect. Nikule mse mwenye, I'm talking about mental health and I go to the gym every day and I see my doctor. There are days I skip on seeing my doctor. Like I can skip even therapy sessions, like, because I'm not feeling it. But the basic fundamental of it is that I don't shy away about talking about it. You had mentioned something about suicide, so I am also like a suicide attempt survivor, like several. My 20s were crazy. And so that's a conversation for another day. And yeah, these things are out in our society. Apparently, currently they say that one out of 4 Kenyans who seek medical services are suffering from mental health, like they're seeking services for mental health issues. So you can imagine the number of people who go to hospital in Kenya. So that's like the number of people who are struggling and are aware they are struggling with their mental health is so huge. And that's why it's like, that's why it's really important. Like I would say, to champion. We have so many people who are championing these issues, like shout out to all of them. And hopefully we get to the point where even our Ministry of Health is trying, and I wouldn't say that they're not doing anything, and just to get to the point where we are doing more and the resources are available to everyone. And back to your point, for those who want to reach to me, the platform is called Men Talk Health KE. I am mostly active on Instagram and Twitter. I have a website, but I'm currently reworking it. So I thought I would be done with it by now, but life. But yeah, if you come to Twitter or Instagram and search for Men Talk Health Kenya, yeah, we'll be there talking about mental health and men's health. It's not just about mental health, because I am very focused on the intersect between men's health, mental health, and how we can get more positivity out of being a man and more healthy forms of masculinity.
So I think we'll wrap up this for today, and be sure we're doing a part 2, and it will be bigger and better and more audience, and I'm looking forward to this, and let's do this again. I've been your host, Hilary Mboro. This has been my boy Aziz, and don't be shy to reach out. He's somebody who'd really help. I've interacted with him. He's been helpful. Him knowing and him not knowing that he's been helpful, and I'm looking forward to another episode of this.
Me too.
My brother. Thank you for coming.
Fiti.